Hi, today's video is going to be about tools. A very frequently asked question are, what tool do you use for soldering? What tool do you use for desoldering? What tool do you use for SMD rework? What do you use for this? What do you use for that? And, instead of looking at for the recommendations that I've made hundreds of thousands of times already, people will just, ask it as if it's a new question. So from now on, I am simply going to link to this video anytime somebody asks me a tool question, and you will just have to sit through it to get to the answer for your specific question. I'm going to go over every single tool that I use. I'm going to go over why I picked it, why I like it, and that's pretty much it. I don't know if the tools that I use are going to be the best choices for you, which is why I'm not just going to explain what it is. I'm also going to explain why I chose it, its strengths, and its weaknesses. This way, maybe this can help you in choosing what's for you. There is no best tool. There is no best of almost anything. There is what is best for you given your specific application. I am not really a fanboy. I believe in buying what's best given my specific set of circumstances. So I'm going to explain to you why I bought the things that I bought, and then you can figure out if this is the best stuff to buy for you given your specific set of specific circumstances. So first things first, let's start out with the soldering iron over here. So I have a Hakko FX951 soldering iron that I like and enjoy very much. I bought this for a couple of reasons. First things first, with soldering irons, I don't like soldering irons that take forever to turn on. That is a pet peeve of mine. I don't like irons where I turn it on and it takes 90 seconds before I can get to work. So I'm going to turn this thing on right now, and you can count. I mean, it's set to 740. That's where I like it. It's at 50. It's at 200. It's at 400, 600. And it's at 740. So, it just took a couple of seconds to heat up a tip to 740. And I haven't turned it on almost all day. And on the weekends, I don't do board repairs because I'm working by myself in the front of the store, dealing with customers, cell phone repairs, and all the other things that don't get done when the rest of the staff is not here. So I didn't turn on this iron today, and yet still, it heats up pretty quickly. And the other thing I like about it is it goes to sleep. So when you put it down, there's a little thing in the back of here. So see this? So it plugs in, and it tells the base when the iron itself, that's an SMC stencil here. Bad memories. Bad. There's nothing but bad memories attached to reballing SMCs. And back to the point here. So it lowers it to around, I think, 200 or 300 degrees when it goes to sleep. Also, one of the things I like is the base station here. So a lot of soldering irons have a base station with space for a sponge. I don't like the sponge. I think the sponge is particularly awful because the sponge doesn't actually clean. To me, the sponge doesn't clean. It simply cools the solder that's on the edge of the iron just enough for it to stay there again. It doesn't actually get rid of it. I don't like the sponge. I despise the sponge. I don't understand how people use it. Hakko has this mesh thing. So it's a mesh that when you put the iron in it, it comes out, and when it comes out, the mesh pretty much pulls off all of the solder that was on the tip, and it gets rid of it. So that's another thing I like about Hakko, is their base stations allow use of that. So let's see if I can get this to focus on the tip of my iron so that you could see that it's nice and clean. Let's see, where's focus on this? Here we go. Hopefully that looks good. As you can see, it's pretty damn clean, which is cool. Go back to autofocus here. The irons themselves are also very good, so they're comfortable to hold in the hand. I don't like irons that have a really long distance between the tip and the grip. I don't like irons where, it's like the tip is over here and the grip is over here. I don't like that very much. I don't like irons that are heavy. This feels very light in the hand. The grip is very nice and spongy. It's easy to work on it, and, it's just, I like this thing. And also, you have a very good selection of tips. I don't like irons where the tip selection is poor. I don't like irons where the only tips that you get are, the basic, like this. Like this is one of my least favorite tips of all time. I don't even know why I bought it. I probably bought it for the other guy who works here when he used to work here. Let's see if I can get a zoom on that. This thing's still on autofocus for the face, so I will have to do this. I don't like these tips. I don't like the plain old-fashioned things. I like the tip like the one I showed you, the bent tip. It makes it a lot easier for me to do connectors. It makes it a lot easier for me to do a lot of things because I can kind of bend around. So if I'm soldering a QFN package, I can actually kind of get in there when I'm going around the QFN package and, actually touch, the pad on the board and also the I was just about to call it a lead, but QFN stands for quad flat, no lead, so that's silly. But you know what I mean, the pad on the chip. That's what I like for this. That's why I like this iron. It just does everything I need it to do, and it's fairly inexpensive. You know, again, a lot of people are going to say this is a lot of money. Tips and everything included, I paid probably under $300 for this. You know, Hakko FX951, this. There's a lot of talk about, does this iron work with this station? Does this tip work with the station? Does this, just honestly, who gives a fuck? I mean, again, really, this, like the $200-something that I spent on this station, these tips, this iron and this, like that money was made back in, no joke, I mean, in like, you know, a half hour after I bought the thing. And it does everything I need. It doesn't break. I like it. Hakko FX951, great iron. You can also hook up to this a micro soldering pencil. I really did mean to buy that because I've also made good use of the Weller WMP65, which is a micro soldering pencil from Weller. I liked that very, very much. It went when one of the people who worked here stopped working here because it was his iron, but I love that little thing. You know, it was a cool iron. There were just some little quirks about it that irritated me, but for the most part, that's another cool iron. So I don't own it. I don't have it to show it to you right now. The WMP65 is also a very cool iron. Now we move on to the hot air station. So I like the Hakko FR801 station, so I'm going to show it to you here. Now, one of the questions that I get all the time that drives me nuts is, you know, what temperature are you using to replace the, you know, this QFN chip? What temperature are you using for this? What temperature are you using when you're removing the LVDS connector? 6, 7, or 8. Allow me to show you why that is the temperature. It's because my hot air station is analog. Now, it's one of the reasons I bought the analog station is for the very, very highly professional scientific laboratory reason that it was a couple of $100 cheaper than the digital one. I don't care for a digital rework station. That doesn't matter to me. So, you know, you turn this thing on, and you can choose temperatures. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I gave up on caring because there's little manuals that come with all the tips that you buy for this. You can buy different tips for this station, and the different tips that you can buy for this station, it'll actually say when it is on 6 and this airflow, this is the temperature. For a different tip, it'll be a different temperature. And you don't know at what point it's actually reached that temperature, so I honestly, when it comes to this hot air, I don't care about temperature accuracy. I know there are a lot of purists out there, there are a lot of soldering school people who are going to go, that's wrong, I can't believe you do business this way, you're unprofessional. And to those people, I just don't give a fuck what you think. I don't, because I've been doing this for a very long time, and my work doesn't come back, and I am very, very happy with a station where I have no idea what the temperature is on. I really don't. One of the things that you may come to realize is when you're dealing with just basic hand soldering is, I can't see myself. Now, one of the things you're going to notice when you deal with some of the basic hand soldering is it's not really about the temperature that it says on the iron. It doesn't matter. What matters is the feel. What matters is actually knowing when I'm at this point on the knob, I can do this. When I'm at this point on the knob, it's a little hotter than I'd usually do, but I need that to get this chip off because it's big. When I'm at this point, I know I'm probably going to burn something, so I should turn it back. When I'm at this point, I'm not going to melt solder, but I'm going to clean away the old flux or melt heat shrink tubing. That's what I care about. I care about feel. I don't really care about temperature. And this may be different for you. I mean, for me, if I'm sitting at 690 or 800, I don't need that on the screen in a digital readout. I just need to know I'm here, and this is what I use to melt this chip. I'm here, this is what I use for this one. For some reason, this is not coming off, and I don't know why, so I'm just going to turn it up a little bit more. That's how I use this. So I don't care about temperature. I care about using what works for me at the time. And that's why I bought this. So I wanted to buy a very high quality rework station. I wanted to buy something that was not going to die because I did deal with people who had experience, you know, those dumpy, crappy IOE pieces of shit. And I didn't want to deal with that. So I wanted to buy something high end. I already knew Hakko because they had been very good to me. So I bought the FR801. I wanted to buy the cheapest good rework station that they sell. So out of one of the best soldering companies that sells one of their best lines of rework stations, I wanted to buy the cheapest thing that would work, and that was this. Again, with temperature accuracy and all of that, you got to realize that, you know, especially if you're looking for repeatable results, whether you're this far away from the board or this far away from the board is going to make a total difference in how the entire process works. So if you're looking to have a digital system because you want accuracy when it comes to hand soldering, you're kind of kidding yourself. You really are. Because again, like being this far from the board versus this far is going to make a complete difference in how it all works, which is why I say, again, this is all based on feel. I don't care about the digital readout from my hot air station. I care that it gets hot. I care that I can remove things with it. I care that I can put things back on with it. I care that I'm not destroying and sodomizing the board around it. And I care that I have this little white mark over here that tells me whether I'm at 6, 7, or 8, so I just know where to turn it for the jobs I need to do. I also like the nozzles on it. What kills me is that a lot of these crappy ass stations that you can buy for like 50 or 100 bucks, they don't even come with nozzles. It's hot air, but it shoots the hot air everywhere, so it doesn't allow you to target it. So let me see if I can get this. I'm just begging to burn my face. I'm going to put it by the microphone so you can hear. When I turn the air up, you can kind of hear it squeaking. And you can, you know, if I get it too close, you'll probably also hear me screaming as I burn my face off, or the microphone dying as I burn it. But you can kind of hear it squeaking at some points. And that's from the air pressure that's being forced through here. So even if you have a very, very high air pressure and a lot of heat, you're not going to get components off of the board if the air is not targeted in the area it needs to be. You want to actually shove that air out and push it as hard as you can towards the component that you're actually looking to move. That's what this is cool for. That's why it's cool that you can choose a 2mm nozzle, 4.4mm nozzle, and all the other types of nozzles that they have for this. I find the 4.4mm nozzle, let me just check the model just to make sure I got the right one, because I don't want you to not be able to find it. So let me just find the nozzle. I think it's an A1130 Hakko nozzle. I just want to make sure that I have the right one, and it is. So it's the Hakko A1130 nozzle that you're going to be looking for. That is my personal favorite. That's what I use for virtually everything. Small chips, larger chips, just even little resistors. It's good. The 2mm nozzle, I find it's hard to actually get anything off the board, and with the airflow that I have to use with it, I wind up blowing everything around it off the board. I hate the 2mm nozzle. The 4.4mm, the A1130 nozzle for this, I find it's very versatile to remove lots of different chips, and it doesn't drive me nuts. And again, when you have the cheaper stations that have no nozzles with just shooting hot air, what you're going to find is what you actually want to come off is not going to come off unless you use ridiculous amounts of heat, and then you're going to kill everything. And it's not going to work. Again, it's not about the heat. It's not about the temperature readout on here, because a lot of these cheap-ass $50 and $70 stations actually have a digital readout. I can turn this thing up to 7.5 and a lot of air and remove chips and put them back on all day without killing them. Whereas if you have a malfunctioning or fucked up working station, you could actually know the exact temperature you're at, the exact airflow you're at, and because it's taking so long for the heat to go over that general area, the chip is not going to come off, but you will kill the chip in the meantime. And that's one of the things you have to think about. You know, again, I'm charging $200 to $400 for these repairs. This was a $650 station when I bought it. It paid for itself after, what, 40 minutes? You know, again, do you really, really, really want to screw around with a $100 piece of shit when you can get this? And again, this thing paid for itself for me in less than an hour. If you're new to this, this will pay for itself in a week or 2 weeks or a month. And after that, every single little bit of profit you make off of it will be just that. It will be profit. You know, this thing is almost, what, 6 years old or something now. It has paid for itself zillions of times over, and I'm very happy for that. Let's go to tweezers. So I'm actually going to log on to Amazon.com so that I can find the tweezers that I bought, because this is an important one. The tweezers that I like from Hakko are the CHP 3-SA. That's CHP 3SA. So I am going to go onto the microscope camera now just to show you how fine these are at the end. And this is a set that I've just completely destroyed. So this is just kind of sad. And also, this is a great way to test this new microscope recording camera system that I got going on here. It's cool because I can actually see what I'm looking at in the screen. These are cool tweezers because they are so fine at the end. I mean, these own wee-high tweezers in terms of being fine at the end. Like, what pisses me off about tweezers, what drives me nuts about tweezers and why I don't like using them for a lot of tasks where you're supposed to use them, where I wind up using my fingernails or a screwdriver or something, is I just don't feel I have the tactile feel. Like when I want to pull something, when I want to pull a wire out, I feel like I'm just scratching it and it's not actually moving. I don't feel like I have a grip on it. With these tweezers, I feel like I have a grip on anything. If I'm grabbing a small component, you know, those Weha micro tweezers, they may seem micro, but when you actually go to grab a component, a lot of the times I feel like I'm just using my hands and my fingers to grab a 0201 resistor. When you have the Hakko CHP 3-SA tweezers, not only are you spending $5 or $10 instead of spending the $30 or $40 you would on a Weha set of tweezers, and don't get it twisted, I love Weha, I'm just saying that I love these Hakko tweezers more. Not only are you saving a lot of money, but you're saving a lot of hassle. These tweezers are awesome. You need to have these tweezers. These tweezers will change your life. Again, they're so cheap, buy 6 or 10 of them because your staff is going to steal them from you, you're going to lose them, and you're going to be very, very sad when you have to go back to the tweezers that the rest of the world uses because you don't have these anymore. So the tweezers here are very, very important to me. Let's check multimeter. So multimeter, I like having a nice multimeter. I have a Fluke 15B. The reason I have a Fluke 15B is because I get the quality and the durability and the usefulness of a Fluke multimeter without the whole spending $200 or $300 of getting a Fluke multimeter. So I bought this thing on eBay for about, I would say, like 85, 90 bucks at the time. Okay, we're focusing on the wrong thing here. This is what's cool about being able to monitor what I'm recording in real time. So I can actually see that that thing is not in focus. There we go. 2 hoorays for technology, and 3 hoorays for not trying to do multimedia anything in Linux anymore. So, I got the multimeter, and one of the things I love about this multimeter, you know, and it's easy to get spoiled by if you forgot what it's like to use a piece of crap, is just diode mode measurements. I love diode mode measurements because they're like resistance measurements, but they work at the speed of my personal impatience. I am an impatient man. So let me show you what I mean by that. So let's say I'm measuring, let's just take something very, very simple, like I'd say PP Bus G3 hot on an 8203115 board. This is resistance. You see that? See how much time it takes to calculate resistance? I could fall asleep doing this, really. I could actually just start dozing off and just, my head falls on my desk and I start counting sheep off of the time this crap takes. But when you go to diode mode, it's almost instant. Look at that. It's so much easier. And you know, it's good to have all of this stuff in your head. For example, what is the backlight circuit on this board? You know, what is that supposed to be when it's working? You know, it's just instant, and you can get these numbers in your head to the point where you start measuring circuits and you see a number that's kind of off, and you immediately already know what the problem is. I like diode mode measurements. I like this for being accurate. I'm not going to bother measuring voltage with it because that's just boring as hell. And again, most of the people watching this video, you know what a multimeter does. The reason I like this multimeter is, again, it has all the features that I want. I can drop it repeatedly and it still works. It's fairly affordable for what it does. Again, $87 for a multimeter. You can buy a $20 multimeter from Radio Shack that doesn't have diode mode measurement. For all the times that you're not going to find the problem just because you don't have that feature, for all the times that you're going to take extra time to find a problem just because you don't have that feature, that $60 saved, it really is nothing. Again, the amount of money that you can make off of having proper tools in this business, it is absolutely nothing compared to just buying something that works the first time. You know, again, I'm not going to spend $2 or $3 or $5 or $100 or $1,000 on a multimeter, but I'm also not going to spend $20. I find around $85, $90 range to be a perfect balance. The Fluke 15B fits that balance for me, and it does everything that I need it to do. And especially, you know, fuck that analog shit. I mean, I actually saw a Radio Shack nearby that was selling the analog multimeter where, you know, if you wanted to measure different voltage ranges, you had to click. The display, I'm not ashamed to say that analog Radio Shack multimeter made so little sense to me that I still have never figured it out. I really didn't know when when I'm measuring something that I know to be 5 volts and I look at the meter, I have no idea how I'm supposed to know that that is 5 volts from the analog meter. I know. You can make fun. You could say I'm a dumbass, whatever. I don't care. And you know what? It's totally worth it to me to spend an extra 50 or 60 bucks to have this over the piece of shit that they sold at Radio Shack a few years ago. And it just does its job. Then you have an oscilloscope. So I have this Rigol, or whatever the hell you're supposed to pronounce it, DS1102E oscilloscope. I don't know what Rigol or Rigol is. You know, I don't know what the word means. I don't know how to pronounce it. But I know that it stands for cheap functioning oscilloscope, and that's what it means to me. So this here is an oscilloscope. You can use it. Honestly, most of the time I'm using it as a cheap voltmeter. You can measure clock signals with it, which is pretty cool. So I can show you a clock signal here. I bought this because I wanted to be able to actually see a clock signal present, and I didn't want to spend a lot of money. So you can actually do that with a frequency counter. Okay, so I can't use this board to test because it doesn't work. Big surprise there. A board that I took out of an incoming shelf doesn't actually work. Something tells me this board is not going to have a working clock signal either. Just crazy hunch. All right, let's just try Okay, I'm kind of tired, so depending on whether I find something here that's not a complete mess, may or may not show you a clock signal. Here. Oh, God. Let's see, this may have a clock signal. Sure as hell is never turning on again, but it may have a clock signal. So I use this for that. I also use it for other things. I like being able to see the actual pulses on an SMC data line. Oh, I can actually show you that, even if this doesn't have a clock signal. Well, looking at the SMC, I'm pretty sure that this doesn't have an SMC data line either. Let's see, do I get anything with this whole piece of junk? All right. Yeah, who are we kidding? Is it worth getting up right now to find a board that isn't a pile of shit? You know what? I like helping you guys so much that I'm actually going to get up. Can you believe it? All right, so let's show you some fun stuff on the oscilloscope. So let's take an example of SMC data line. So I'm going to change this to 1 volt. This way, every single one of the lines you see on the screen means 1 volt. And of course, the board I chose probably has a non-working SMC. You bet your ass it doesn't have a working SMC. Here we go. Yeah, quick while it still works. Okay. Well, you saw the pulsing waveform there for a second. Here we go. Okay, so before this thing goes away, so you can see the top of the waveform and the bottom of the waveform. So you can see in the beginning, you can see the top of the waveform, you can see the bottom of the waveform, you can see the length of the pulses, and of course this is all before it goes away because this board doesn't have a working SMC. It actually doesn't have a working lot of stuff. But this comes in handy if you're trying to diagnose a sensor issue or anything like that. The whole idea here is on this particular board, there are pull-up resistors to create data lines at 3.4 volts. Now, if you see that a data line is only going up to, let's say, 2 volts, you know, maybe something's pulling it down. So one of the cool things that you could do with this digital oscilloscope is you can set the RMS voltage, which is the average, then you can also set V-top. So this will tell me what the top voltage is. So if I'm reading a data line and I expect it to top out at 3.4 volts, and that says V-top is 2 or V-top is 1, you know, I know something's wrong. If I'm looking at a clock signal and it says, you know, 2 kilohertz when I'm supposed to see 32 kilohertz or 25 megahertz, I'll have an idea that something's wrong. I think I got this thing for about $300 or $400. I don't remember if I bought it used or new. It comes in very handy. To be 100% honest with you, I use this most of the time as just a really fancy voltmeter while I use the fluke in diode mode. So one of the things with my workflow is that I'm frequently going back and forth between measuring resistance or using diode mode to measure resistance and voltage at certain points. And the thing is, it's about making a workflow that's easy for yourself. So if there's a task that you know you need to do in order to make money, but there's something that you have to do in order to do that task, wouldn't it be nice to be able to automate it so you don't always have to do that task? Changing this thing between voltage and diode mode means flipping the switch. Flipping the switch means a 50% chance that, as I just did right now, that I'm going to knock it over because the kickstand on almost all these multimeters out there It sucks. It's funny. None of these kickstands are actually made to withstand more than 2,000 drops, which I think is crap for the amount of money that they ask for, especially since I've dropped this thing about 5,000 times off at the desk already. Anyway, so I usually have this thing adhesed to the wall. I don't now. Point is, it's a pain in the ass to change back and forth between resistance and voltage all the time. So what I usually do is I have this usually tied with an alligator clip onto the motherboard. And this is set to, read certain voltages. So I use this as a voltmeter. And then I use the fluke, where it's common that I'm going to be measuring resistance between different points as, testing for resistance. So I'll have this in resistance mode. I'll have this to check voltage. And this way, I have two distinct tools that are always ready. So if I have this tied over here with an alligator clip to the ground of a board, that means that I can quickly measure voltage all the time with just using one probe instead of two, which, believe it or not, when you're doing this hundreds of thousands of times, really does save time. And I have this set in resistance mode already where I can just use it instantly. Now let's go over the multimeter probes that I use. So I use the Fluke TP88 probes. That's these things over here. So you see, you may wonder, how do I get these very fine points on my multimeter? So, and this is what regular multimeter probes look like. I'll put them under the microscope so you can see. All right, so regular multimeter probes, your probes from your multimeter probably look something like this. And you're wondering, how the hell do I make these measurements in these videos when it's so damn small? So let's get this on the screen here. See that? That's your regular multimeter probe. It's huge. Put that next to my finger. It's huge. Now you have this, much easier to work with. You put it next to my finger. I mean, you could probably puncture my nail just dropping this on it with the force of gravity. These are very, very small probes. So to put the large probe next to the small one, just to give you an idea, yeah. So that is the Fluke TP88 probe. You put those on top of the standard probes. It'll fit most multimeters. The probes that I'm using on my particular Fluke, let's see if I remember or have it on my history here so I can show you what I got. So I have a Fluke TL71 probes, and then I have the Fluke TP88 extenders. These make life a lot easier. I read a lot of silly stuff on the internet. Like people are scotch taping paper clips that are thin and ground at the end, and they're grinding down their multimeter probes. They're soldering sewing needles. Just buy probes. It's $15. They fit. It's easy. They feel nice. It looks nice. It works nice. It's $15. And again, it is really, really helpful. So now moving on to fume extraction. So I have this thing on my desk over here. I have this is part of it, Hacko FA430. Okay. So this over here is used for sucking up things that don't smell good. It's on a tube in my desk that goes to this box on the floor over here, which does it has the worst job in the office of sucking up all the fumes. It's pretty loud when you put it on. It's also pretty powerful. So let's there. Let's zoom out over here so I can show you. Let's do a little demonstration of how powerful this thing is. So this is a paper towel, microphone, listen to me. So I take this paper towel, it's actually sucking it through the net that's over here. So I mean, let's see if I can also do an example with solder here. I'm going to turn my iron on. So this is solder that has flux inside of it that I'm about to use in front of the fume extractor. So this should make it a little bit more exaggerated than if you use standard, regular, old flux. But it's going to make a lot of smoke. Look at how far away I can get from this thing. Now watch what happens when I turn this piece of shit off. Oh, it's going everywhere. Yeah. I know I want to do the demonstration for the video, but no. Come on, turn back on. Turn back on before I get cancer. Get all this crap out of it. GTFO. Pah. Boo. Things I do for video content. But yeah, look at this. You have one of these. You need one of these. Do you know why you need one of these? Let me show you what happens to people who don't have one of these. So let me show you the inside of the filter. This should pretty much do it for you. If you haven't bought a proper air filter. So you see that? That used to be perfectly white when I bought it. Now right over there, that's the side that gets the direct intake from the fume extractor. See that? See this shit? This crap is all what you're breathing in. Focus. Look at this. You can even move it around. Like, this is your lung. If you don't have a fume extractor, this is inside of you. This is in your lung, and good luck getting rid of that stuff. Because one of the things about the human body can do a lot of amazing things. The human body has no idea how to process or get rid of this shit. It just stays there. You actually, you get heavier by a very, 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 very small margin. But you actually get heavier as a result of taking all that crap in. It becomes a part of you. And it's disgusting. And, ugh. I don't smoke, and I don't want to inhale that. I move that back and forth when I'm using the Zalmo Rework Station. I use it all the time. I have no desire to inhale any of this stuff. Ugh, I hate smoking. Alrighty, now let's move on to the microscope here. So I also use this as a paper towel handler. So a lot of people ask me about the microscope that I use, and when I bring up the microscopes I use, I get all sorts of silliness on price, which is why I started recommending that Amscope SE400. That was a good microscope for a beginner, but honestly, it really gets old after a while because it doesn't look as good as a lot of other microscopes. This is a microscope that looks really, really good. I highly recommend this microscope. It looks a lot better than the Amscope SE400. I can't really do a direct comparison because I don't have a camera that fits into the SE400, nor does that have the ability to have a camera. But what I'd like to do here is I'd like to show you what boards look like inside of this microscope because it is pretty amazing. I mean, it is really high quality, and I know that YouTube is going to completely sodomize all of this, which makes me very, very sad. But I mean, it's like the image that you get with this is just it's amazing. And again, keep in mind that what you actually see when you're using the microscope, it's a lot better than what you have to the camera because the camera can only see a certain part of the full view. When you have both eyes, it looks a lot nicer. But it's just everything. Nothing is kind of drowned out in light or blurry. Because with the Amscope SE400, again, it'll change your life if you're just using a magnifying glass. By far, it'll change your life if you're just using some dinky setup like that. But once you get into having a microscope like this, when you can see things this clearly, you'll start to see problems that you didn't even think to measure. And it makes working so much easier. When I had to try to do certain jobs with the SE400 after having using this for weeks and weeks and weeks, when I had to go back to the SE400 because I was sharing this with somebody, it was really hell. And I realized just how spoiled I've become and how I refuse to use anything other than this microscope. This is an Omano 1030. So you can go to microscope.com and you can buy the Omano 1030. I really hope I'm not getting the number wrong, and I really hope I don't have to edit this and put an annotation in later. It uses the JW11 boom stand. This is the Omano... Oh, my camcorder is bitching that I'm out of battery. Excuse me a minute. Okay, and I'm back. So, the Omano 1030 with a JW11 stand. You don't need a lot of the options that I did. Be real with yourself. You're probably never going to be doing videos like this where you need a camera. Save yourself money. Don't buy the trinocular input. If you don't buy the trinocular input and you don't get a camera and all that stuff, you could spend about $400 after shipping and have this microscope, and it's absolutely amazing. One of the things that drives me a little nuts is the working distance. It's a little small compared to what I'm used to, but after I got used to this, honestly, as annoying as it is to have to solder at an angle, I actually prefer soldering at an angle than using a microscope where I have to stand practically or put the table down here just so that I could use it. It starts to get old when the table has to be down here just so that you can use the microscope because the working distance is too far. This working distance is about 3 or 4 inches, which works. Now, if you plan on doing BGA soldering, I would recommend getting a microscope that allows you to adjust the zoom. So this one allows you to go between 10 and 30x, which is good. I never use 30x, and you probably won't either. But the reason it's nice to have adjustable zoom is you can't see an entire chip with this thing. So, for example, let's say I'm replacing a PCH. So let me show you a PCH chip. I can't see the whole chip in here. even if I were to, take this off so I could see with the left eye and the right eye, I'm still not even close to seeing the whole chip because the magnification itself is too great. What I would need is I would need to go down from 10x to something like 3x or 4x in order to see the entire chip. The reason it's useful to see the entire chip is for, let's say, you're putting balls in the new chip. Let's say you're cleaning the board. Wouldn't it be nice to actually be able to see that entire section of the board in the microscope? 1x with my eyes all the way over here is a little too far away. 10x is a little too close up. Something like 3 or 4x would be great. Now, Amano makes microscopes that are just as good as this, but that allow you to have actually adjustable zoom. So you turn a knob on the side. Instead of being stuck between 1x and 3x, you can go back and forth between 3 to 45 or 3 to 90. There's all sorts of different choices on microscope.com. But the Amano microscope line is one that very, very few people know about because Amscope is so popular. But I hope they get some recognition here because, again, this is an amazing, amazing microscope. You see the picture quality in these videos, and, again, that's even after YouTube just sodomizes it. YouTube takes what I upload, and they shit on it, they step on it, it's disgusting. And even after that, it looks really, really good. A lot of that is the microscope. This makes life easier. Now, let's move on to some of my other tools. Let's see. So we have solder here. Okay, so for solder, I like the Kester that I use. Let's see which one I use here so I can tell you what to buy. Again, what you use is going to be totally up to you. So for my standard solder, I use a Kester SN63 PB37, 0.80 millimeters, which is 0.31 inches. Rosin core, it's the one with the yellow on it over here. So let's adjust focus so you can see that. Manual focus, and yeah. I would show you the finer solder that I use because I also have another one, but it's actually been with me for almost 9 years now. So that is really, you're never going to be able to read the top of that. I wanted to buy another one of it because I liked it, and good luck with that. Let's see if I can show you how beat up that is, and because I got a really long spool of very, very fine solder, and I knew it was going to last me a long time, but I really didn't think as a 17-year-old that this spool was going to be here when I was 26. Yeah, that's a long, long time ago. Yeah. That's a look at this. Like the side of it is melted, destroyed off, and yeah, good luck telling me what I bought from this, but just a trip down memory lane there. Another tool that I like to use is this bench power supply. So I don't honestly, I don't have an example. I don't feel like going through all my boards to find an example of where it's cool to have one. You'll see in another video that where a board, I think it was a board that didn't have PP5 VS3, so I decided to try turning it on with the bench power supplies PP5 VS3, and it worked. And then I knew that I would continue troubleshooting the circuit that way. So this is what I used in the video on not destroying boards when you don't know what you're doing. So there was a huge short on PP bus G3 hot that was created by a complete idiot. So it had a very, very small problem that got turned into a big problem. And I was using this power supply to show you how I check for shorts. And I was also using it for dramatic effect. So it's a 12.6 volt bus. I was putting 20 volts through it just to be an asshole and make a point, but also for for cool effect in the video. This is a great power supply. It's the HP 6542. It was also made by Agilent, so HP and Agilent, I guess, used to be partners. Sometime in the 18th century when this power supply was designed, as you can tell from the modern design on the front of this. And it's pretty cool. What this allows you to do is inject voltage into a circuit. And the reason I find this useful to me is because, let's say there's a short circuit somewhere, wouldn't you like to actually know where the short circuit is if there's a rail that has a very, very low resistance to ground? The way you do that is by taking the positive from this. So I got the positive hooked up, again, very scientifically, to this wire over here, which I'll solder onto the rail of the board that's shorted. So let's say the 5-volt rail is shorted to ground. I'll attach this to the 5-volt rail of the board, and then I'll attach the ground of this power supply to the ground of the board, and then I'll turn it on. And you can set the voltage here, which is pretty cool. You can set the voltage. You can even limit current, so if it's a really, really terrible short and you don't want to wind up blowing things up, You can limit current here, which is something that I used to have to use LED strips along with a computer power supply to do. Thank God those days are gone. And that's what makes this a useful tool. It allows me to not only find the location of a short in the board, but also sometimes, let's say a power rail is missing on the board, one of the things that I'll want to do is I'll want to see how much of a nightmare that board is going to be. So let's say I want to fast forward to fixing that power rail. If I provide power to that rail, will the board work? So let's say the 5-volt rail is missing. Is it just missing because of one little issue with the circuit, or is there an entirely other mess with the board? I can put 5 volts on the 5-volt bus of the board using this power supply and then see if it turns on. If it turns on, great. I know that I don't have a long, miserable repair ahead. If I put 5 volts there and it shows that there's, it's trying to deliver 5 amps to it, now I know that there's a short there, and if it's a terrible short, I'll know that I'm screwed. I'll know. It's just good to have that information. I'll know how much of a rabbit hole this board is going to be compared to a regular one. When I say rabbit hole, I'm referring to Eli, the computer guy, saying rabbit hole to hell. You should Google that video because it is a very, very good one, and it's a term that you should get used to so you don't waste time on things that won't make you money. Now, it's a good video on the whole idea of people spending too much time on something because they think they can get it done, because it'll upset their personal confidence if they can't figure it out, when in reality it's just not worth figuring out and you just need to leave it alone. So a cool thing this does is it actually shows you the amperage that's going through. So you can use it as a short detector. So let's say you have a short on the 5-volt rail. You put 5 volts there, and you turn it on. If it says it's delivering 5 amps, you have a short. If you see a little smoke come up out of the board and then it says it was delivering 5 amps or 2 amps and it's now delivering 0, you know that the short is gone. So you can actually use it as a short tester. And you can also turn up the voltage very, very slowly. So you can go from 0.6 volts to 0.7 volts to 0.8 volts and so on and so forth. So this is a very, very, very useful tool for me. And that's what I use it for. Let's see what else I have on my desk here that's worthwhile. I have the sheep. Gotta love the sheep. He is... Okay. What else? All right. Oh, I have this 4K monitor here for viewing schematics. I don't know how you guys do it, especially you people that are techs for other companies. So I'll see these pictures of these desks that employers create for their workers that actually do board level work all day. And you'll have like a $70 Acer, 1600 by 900 monitor, and that's sad. That's terrible. That's garbage. That's crap. So here I have this, this is a 4K monitor, and there's no way for me to really give you an idea on camera, because if you're not looking through it with a 4K monitor, it won't do anything. There's no way of giving you an idea of just how amazing this thing is. But, this is 30 hertz. So I bought this back when 4K still cost a decent amount of money. It still kind of does cost a decent amount of money if you want anything good. But the cool thing about this, if I want to open a schematic or a board view, you can just open them side by side and everything just looks beautiful. I mean, you can zoom in on everything. I can see the entire power diagram page, and I can read everything comfortably from where I'm sitting right now. And, you can, because, camera view of a television compressed by YouTube sucks. But it really is nice to be able to see the entire page. So I can see the entire page of a circuit, which is nice. And while I'm looking at the entire page of the circuit, I can read everything. So I don't have to zoom in and out, which is great. I have one zoom. I can view every single piece of writing here, but I'm also viewing the entire page. And that's something that's really cool. And I really can express how valuable that is until you've actually experienced it. Once you've experienced it and you go back to looking at schematics on a regular laptop screen or a regular monitor, you're just going to want to jump off a bridge, because it really is nothing like doing it like this. I am never going to go back to scrolling through a PDF again. And, I was thinking to myself about this before I bought the TV. Is this really necessary? And there were so many times where I was this close to going back to a schematic point in the circuit, and I realized I was just measuring around, just trying to find something that seemed off and looking again in the microscope, because I was that against having to look over here and go back and forth between a board view and a schematic in a 1080p screen that was 14 inches. It really, really does suck. It really does suck when you're using a 1600 by 900 $80, $90 monitor. And it's because of how it affects your mindset. To me, this is not a luxury. To me, it really does affect my subconscious mindset, where I'm actually making different decisions about how to go about troubleshooting a board, just because it's the end of the day and I don't want to go back and forth on this tiny little screen. I didn't buy this because it has great color. I didn't buy this because it has great input lag. I didn't buy this because it had excellent refresh rate. It has input lag. The color on it ain't nothing. It's accurate. I'm not. When I look at this or I watch videos on it, it's just not amazing to me. It doesn't really look that good. And the C key is stuck at 30 hertz at 4K, and it has input lag for the mouse. I don't see this as a monitor. There are a lot of people who complain about it as a monitor. It's not a monitor. I read the specifications before I bought it. It was $339 with free shipping on Amazon. I did not buy this to be a monitor. I bought this to be a piece of paper. This is a piece of paper. This is a 39-inch 4K piece of paper. This is a PDF reader to me. It being a monitor is just a second function. It's not its primary function. To me, this is not a shitty monitor. To me, this is an amazingly cheap PDF reader that is very, very high quality. That's what I bought it for. Again, you have to buy the tool for its intended specification. If you are into high-end video editing, do not buy this piece of shit Seiki monitor. If you're a gamer, do not buy this piece of shit Seiki monitor. If you're into a high-end home theater viewing, do not buy this piece of shit Seiki television. If you want a 4K PDF reader that allows you to view board views and schematics and have them look crystal clear and amazing, where you don't have to zoom in ever and you can read everything on the screen perfectly, and you don't want to spend a lot of money, buy this excellent Seiki PDF reader. Again, shitty monitor, shitty television, amazing PDF reader, amazing board view viewer. $339 with free shipping. It was totally worth it to me. I love it. All right, what else do we have here for tools? Yes, the Zaomao. How can we forget about the Zaomao? Now, BGA is involved work, so I'm not going to get too involved showing you how the Zaomao works here, particularly because I've done this with my other videos. I have a video that's literally 2 hours long where I'm showing you exactly how to do BGA chip replacement using this Rework Station. So I'm going to link to that video here. I'm not going to go in and on about how to use this thing here, because that's an entire video series in and of itself. I like this because the profiles that I run the same every time. It really gets annoying when you use some cheap-ass infrared station, and every single time you use it, it does something different. I don't like that. I also don't like not having the ability to see what I'm doing. I like that this came with a basic CCTV camera setup so that I could see what I'm doing. I like that when I take my microscope camera over here, which is really, really good, I like that I can actually use that microscope camera with the lens that I got for that so that I could see under the chip so clearly that you can tell the moment that they start melting, the moment soldering takes place. You can tell if it's aligned. I like the fact that it has alignment. You don't want to be trying to align SMCs by hand. That's not fun. Can you do that? Yes. Do I want to do that repeatedly if I'm doing this every single day? With my hands, not really. So that's a very, very important tool to me. I like the Zaomao. It does a lot for me. Another important tool is the air conditioner. So I've been into a lot of repair shops that have very, very poor ventilation. I totally understand that looks ghetto as hell. It does, and there is a piece of bubble wrap stuck in it under the window. I don't care, because it keeps me cold. It keeps the air fresh. So in addition to having the air filter here to suck out the junk in the air, I also have that to recirculate the air. I don't want to be sweating while I'm working. I refuse to sweat in the summer. This room is 200 square feet, and I have a 35,000 BTU air conditioner in it. There are a lot of people that have nice cars because they didn't get to have them as a kid and they wanted it. When you're an adult, you kind of overcompensate for the things that you didn't have as a kid. And my mother was one of those people where it's 99 degrees outside with 95% humidity. It's 105 degrees in the house, and she doesn't want to turn on the air conditioner. It's not even a money thing, because I offered her money that I made from work to turn on the air conditioner. She didn't want to turn on the air conditioner because she didn't want the dust to circulate. I really don't get it. But one of the things as an adult that's important to me is I never want to be uncomfortable based on temperature in my space. I don't want to sit here sweating. So I have that nice Friedrich air conditioner that is important to me. And it is important to feel comfortable as you work. Because again, are you going to stay and properly troubleshoot the circuit, or are you going to leave because you're tired, or sit down and do nothing because you're tired? The same goes with the television. Am I going to just start measuring around randomly just because I don't want to go back to the hell of going through schematics? Or am I just going to go to the schematic because it's easier to read? You should get these tools that encourage you subconsciously to keep working. So I also have this live air purifier here. It was about $250. Again, I like having nice air in the room that I'm working in. I don't want the room that I work in to smell like crap. I don't want it to smell like I sit here melting shit all day. And I want it to actually feel clean. When I walk in here, even though it is a scattered mess, you know, organizationally, I want it to feel clean from, you know, a chemical point of view, or from a, you know, just general cleanliness and hygienic point of view. And that's what the air filter does for me. So over here, I have a toaster oven from Kmart. So they say that you should bake boards before you do BGA rework on them. Honestly, most of the time I don't really bother, but I haven't noticed ever needing to. But I do use this for drying boards off after ultrasonically cleaning them, and that's something that I also want to point out, though, another important tool. So I talked about the ultrasonic cleaner in the Invest in Yourself video, and I want to point to it here. I'm honestly kind of tired and really hungry, so I'm not going to bother with getting up, moving this into the next room right now. But that's a Branson ultrasonic cleaner. I believe that's the CPX or CPHX 2800. It's not a bad cleaner. I honestly prefer my old Crest CP500 HT. Even though the CP500 HT was smaller and analog and did not have a degassing feature, it got hot a lot quicker. So as you can see, that Branson is sitting on top of my radiator. That is my high-tech way of getting it to heat the fuck up faster. You could keep that thing on at 60, set to 60 Celsius for 2 hours. It still ain't at 60 Celsius yet. The other one, my Crest would go up to 80. I've never seen this thing go above 62, and I've seen it fall to 55. It drives me nuts. The Crest, you can turn it all the way up to 80 Celsius. It'll get there. I've talked in the other videos about the proper temperatures to use for ultrasonicking, the proper liquids, the proper chemicals. You can search my video on ultrasonicking and read all of that. And you can see why I think that that's a good investment to your business over some bullshit like a G-tool. But that's the ultrasonic cleaner. I use that for liquid spill damage repair. I bought a good sweeping frequency ultrasonic cleaner because I wanted a cleaner that was not going to keep bombarding the same specific part of the board at the same frequency. I wanted it to move back and forth so that it makes sure that it gets every single part of the board and does a proper cleaning. You'll notice that sweep frequency ultrasonic cleaners have a much better success rate than ones that do not have sweep frequency ultrasonic cleaning features. And if you don't believe me, if you think this is all shit, I assure you there are many, many people that are much smarter than me that thought that they were right with that, and they were not. Just try it for yourself. Buy the $100 piece of shit jewelry cleaner. Buy a $600 or $700 or $800 Branson or Crest, and see for yourself that what the piece of shit does not fix, that will. But what is more important is that when you buy a piece of crap ultrasonic cleaner, what you'll notice is that you'll put boards in it that worked, and when you take them out of that ultrasonic cleaner, they will not work anymore. And this is very, very bad. You don't want to put boards into a cleaner that work, but that have one small problem, that come out completely dead as a result of you putting it into a piece of shit jewelry cleaner. I assure you that whatever money you spend on an ultrasonic cleaner will come back to you 10, 100, 1,000-fold over, as long as you are not a complete idiot. So do me the favor of buying a proper machine. Now, what I'd like to do with the boards after they're done with that is I actually put them inside of the air filter. So let's see how long this HDMI cord is, and let's also see how much patience I have for moving the camera into the next room. Very, very limited. So I have that Honeywell 50250 air filter over there. I'll actually put the boards on there to dry for about 10 minutes. So after the board has sat in that air filter for 10 minutes, not because I care about clean air, just because the slot on the edge of that is actually perfect for me fitting a MacBook motherboard in it, I'll sit it there for about 10 or 20 minutes to dry. After it's sat there for 10, actually I have been wrong here. I didn't do this in order. So I have this Tupperware container that's filled with 99% alcohol. That container, after you put the board in it, you move it around a little bit in the 99% alcohol. That's right after it comes out of the ultrasonic cleaner. So the board's going to come from the ultrasonic cleaner. It's going to go over here to that Tupperware container. And inside of there, the alcohol is going to displace all the water. So all the water that's under the chips from the ultrasonic is going to get displaced by the alcohol. Alcohol naturally displaces water. It's why you have a hangover the day after you get drunk, and it's why you have to pee all the time when you're drinking. So if you put it in alcohol, it's going to get rid of all the water that's around it, which is important. Alcohol evaporates instantly. Water doesn't. Also, alcohol is not going to harm the board in the same way that water does. So after you're done cleaning it in the very same kind of water that fucked it up to begin with, you're going to put it in the alcohol to get rid of all the water. Once you've gotten rid of all the water, the board is just going to have alcohol. At that point, you're going to put it in the air filter to dry for 10 or 20 minutes. After it's dried and all the large pieces of water and alcohol and all that are off of there, there's going to be very, very little damp alcohol left. At that point, it goes in the oven. I put it in the oven at 225 Fahrenheit for about maybe a half hour to an hour. That temperature is not going to reflow solder. This tool is not used as a reflow oven. Do not bake boards to fix them. That is bullshit, that is crap, that is garbage, and that is just garbage that you read on the internet by people who have no idea what the fuck they are doing. If you put a board in that oven and you turn it up to 220 or 230 Celsius, you will see every single board on that board and all the chips just start falling off. It will never turn on again and it will be fucked. Putting a board in the oven to fix it, it's not about melting the solder. That's not what fixes it. It's because they have dead graphics chips and dead MCPs and they're just coming back to life temporarily. That's all bullshit. What I use this oven for is for actually just drying them. So after it's sitting in the air filter, you know, do I want to leave it to sit in the air filter for 2 or 4 days, or do I want to leave it in the air filter to just get enough junk off of the board so that I can put it in here and have it evaporate the rest. So once it's been 10 or 20 minutes in the air filter, I'll take a board and I'll put it in this oven, 225 Fahrenheit for maybe 20 minutes to an hour. And when I take it out, I let it cool for about 10 minutes. And after that, I'm ready to try it. And then I'm ready to start rework. I don't start rework on a liquid damaged board in any way, shape, or form before going through this process. Ultrasonic cleaning, alcohol for displacing the water, air filter for evaporating the alcohol, and then the oven to get rid of any semblance of moisture from alcohol or anything that will be left on that board. Let's see. Music. So I like listening to music over the course of my day, and I am not going to be caught dead with one of those crappy-ass little Bluetooth speakers. I respect music, I enjoy good quality sound, which is why in my office I have a Teal CS 3.6 stereo system. Now these are Teal speakers made back before PSB and SVS designers raided Teal Audio and sodomized their whole phase coherent design and destroyed it with their, you know, home Third Avenue collection bullshit. These are very good speakers, and I've refurbished them several times, a couple of times through Teal themselves and a couple of times through my own recoiling and coning because I couldn't find the stuff that I need. And that's also a Parasound HCA 1000A amplifier down there. In moving so many times, I have lost a feet to it, I have lost a top to it, but it still kicks ass. I bias it once a month just to make sure that it doesn't fall out of BIOS, you know, because I hate to admit this because I love that amp so much, but I probably kick the crap out of it when I'm working at that desk just without noticing it. I am using Cat 5 or Cat 6 wire as speaker wire because I couldn't find better after moving back here, but it's good enough for my office. And again, listening, being able to enjoy yourself in your work environment, this is really, really important. What's going to encourage me to figure out a problem when I could just leave here and, you know, just leave it for tomorrow when I'm going to forget about it and never come back to it? Well, what encourages me to try to fix the unfixable? What encourages me to figure things out where other people give up? But it's part of just making this room a comfortable environment. Again, it's a mess. Don't get it twisted. It's a total mess. But it's a properly ventilated, well-cooled, smells nice, again, sounds good mess, you know. That really does contribute to it. The fact that the air is pure, the fact that the temperature feels comfortable, the fact that, you know, I can sit down and enjoy my music, and that when I'm looking at schematics, I'm looking at them on a nice screen. The fact that, again, let's include the chair in this, so Aeron chair. You know, this chair is about $600-700. It's totally worth it because when I sit in this chair, I can sit in that chair for 7 or 9 hours and I don't feel like crap afterwards. This is a very, very comfortable chair. If you sit on a stool, you sit on a bench, you know, make your boss buy you one of these if you're making him money. And if you suck at your job, you probably don't deserve this, but if you make your boss good money, make him buy you a chair that actually encourages you to sit at work. This is part of what, you know, good employers do. They try to make it so that you don't want to leave work. Look at what Google does with the, you know, do you think they have these gyms and these nice things on site out of the goodness of their heart? No, they don't want their workers going home. That's the whole idea. That's the point. And I do the same thing to myself because I want to be comfortable while I'm here. So I think I've discussed just about every tool that I have in my office. I've discussed the uses for them. I discussed why I bought them, why they're important to me, and what they do for me. If I missed any tool, if I skipped out on any detail that you find or feel is important to you, please do let me know in the comments. I'll reply back as I have time to, and I'll expound as, you know, as I feel. But that's about it. So, you know, again, the importance of having good tools is that they allow me to do my job Well, they encourage me to stay here doing my job instead of leaving. They allow me to feel comfortable at work, and they make what would usually be very, very difficult, very, very easy. Again, you know, the soldering iron that has a very, very fine tip that is always the same temperature all the time, it makes doing connectors very, very easy. As I showed you in the video where I'm using a $10 soldering iron, that took a job that's supposed to be about 90 seconds to 5 minutes, and it turned it into over an hour of nightmarish hell because the temperature kept changing and it just sucked. With this, I can go, and I'm done with the connector. Very easy. You can burn a lot of chips on a motherboard by using an iron that is not putting out the right amount of heat, by using a hot air station that does not have a proper nozzle, so it's just shoving the heat everywhere, and it's never really removing the chip but killing it. You have a good iron, you have a good hot air station, you just go ding. You hear it, you hear the air coming out, you feel the air coming out, and the chip just comes off the board, and you can put a new one on, and it's not burning itself. It's easy. Again, if you see the WLED driver video, even though in my videos everything is more miserable than it is in real life, in that video it still came out pretty well. The job actually came out well, even though it took longer than it usually does, because this iron made it easy. If you have an iron where you're trying to remove chips like that, and I keep saying iron instead of hot air station, just shorter. If you have a hot air station like that where you're trying to remove these chips and they're not coming off, or they're coming off messed up, or they're going back on and they're chipping, look at your hot air station. Does it function properly? Has it been maintenance recently? Is it a cheap piece of shit? Most of the times, number 3, that it's a cheap piece of shit is going to be your problem. Multimeter. I love diode mode. Don't cheap out. Don't buy a multimeter that does not have diode mode measurements. Fluke 15B, it's very cheap. You can drop it on the floor thousands of times and it will still work. Regal DS1102E oscilloscope. I'm not a big oscilloscope user. Again, as I said, I use it to check data lines. I use it to check clock signals. It was cheap. Honestly, a lot of the times I'm just using it as a fancy voltmeter. Works totally well for that. Fume extractor, very, very important. You need a fume extractor. And when I say fume extractor, I don't mean those little computer fans that come with a little carbon filter that Weller is charging $60 to $70 for. That's bullshit. I used to have one of those. That thing sucks. Hacko FA430. I know. It costs a lot of money. But did you see what that shit looked like in there? That's not a lot of usage. That thing is about, I replaced that filter about 3 weeks ago. I replaced that when I moved back here. So that's like 2 or 3 weeks worth of soldering in there that would have been inside of my lungs. I don't want that inside of my body. I am not a scientist, nor am I a physician or a medical expert, but I am 99% certain that when that crap goes inside of you, that your body does not have a way of removing it from you. I'm fairly certain that there is no process in the body that's going to take all that solder and all that flux and all that garbage out from wherever it came into my body when I started breathing it in. I just have a feeling that it's not getting pissed or crapped out. I have a feeling that it stays there. And, you know, I'm not going to risk that I'm wrong there by just not paying money for something like that. You can think that you solder by a window. You can think that you blow it away or that you have FAM. The problem is it's still around you. You need something powerful. Did you hear how loud this was when I turned it on? It starts sucking the solder out so hard that even when I'm soldering over here, you don't even see a cloud of smoke that's disappearing. You don't see a cloud of smoke at all. The fume is being extracted immediately into here. It gets sucked out immediately. That's what you need. You need extraction at the source. Having one of those vents or those hoods above your table, it doesn't work because you're soldering. Right, you're soldering, and it's going up or it's going away, but it's going into you as it's going up and away. You want something that sucks that crap away before you can even get to it, where you could be this close to the iron and breathing hard and not even tell that you're soldering. Hacko FA430. Microscope. Image quality. I know I recommended the Amscope, and I recommended, honestly, the reason I recommended it is because everybody who was just, people are cheap. So I would bring up other microscopes, and they would go, anything cheaper because they're upgrading from a magnifying glass. Amano 1030. This can be found on microscope.com. OMANO is the brand, and the microscope is 1030. It's a good microscope. If you're going to be doing BGA rework on large chips, buy something in the same general family from Amano, but just up high enough on the price range that you can get something where you can adjust the zoom. You want to be able to go down to 5x, 4x, 3x zoom so that you can see the entire working area, so that when you're cleaning the chip, you can do that cleaning inside the microscope and not have to move the board around. So right now I have this, I like it, but a little bit of buyer's remorse because when I'm doing cleaning of the chip, I have to move the board around so that I can see it in the microscope. I don't really like doing that. I would love to be able to do the whole thing inside the microscope. This does a very good job. Bench power supply. HP Agilent This is the HP Agilent 6542A. You can buy this on eBay. I've seen it as low as $120. I wanted it kind of quickly, so I wound up paying, I think, somewhere between $130 to $180 for it. But still, it's an invaluable tool. It's helped me fix boards that I would have otherwise said screw this and given up on after my G5 power supply died, which I was using to test this stuff along with LED strips. This will automatically start limiting current into a 0 ohm short that is very easy to send a lot of power into instead of blowing up. A computer power supply will simply turn off unless you put something there like LED lights as a load. It's a pain in the ass to figure out, gee, how many LED lights do I have to put through here, and so that there'll be enough resistance so that the power supply won't turn off. How about you just spend 130, 180, 200 bucks on a good bench power supply? You can buy the cheapest complete piece of garbage power supply for like 80, 90 bucks. I chose to buy a used power supply from a leading brand that made the best power supplies for many years, just so that I wouldn't be buying garbage, and I'm glad I did. Again, if the price difference was 90 bucks for the cheap piece of shit and $2,000 for this, I would buy the $90 one, to be honest with you. But between, you know, a $90 piece of shit and a $130 or $180 top of the line one, I'll totally take the used top of the line one. Let's see, Zalmo, yeah, BGA rework. Whether or not you want BGA rework at your business is up to you, because once you start doing BGA rework, you're admitting to yourself that you're going very, very far down the rabbit hole. Most of my repairs are circuit rework. I'm not saying because I shy away from BGA repairs. It's not because I shy away from them, even though they are a pain in the ass. And admittedly, I do shy a little bit away from them, but that's beside the point. The point is that on my desk, if I have 30 boards to fix, like 27 or 28 of them will not have a BGA problem. Only 2 or 3 of them are. And those boards that don't have BGA problems are going to make me the same amount of money as the boards that do have BGA problems. Actually, I take it back. The boards that have BGA problems usually require chip replacements that are a little more expensive. In SMC, where I have to go through 3 boards to find it, and those 3 boards cost me 15 or 20 bucks each. A graphics chip that costs 30 or 40 or 50 or $70. So I actually make less money off of BGA repairs than I do off of standard circuit repairs. And standard circuit repairs are easier. And standard circuit repairs are also the ones that are more plentiful. Whether or not you want to add a BGA machine to your business, that's something that you really got to think about. And also, you know, again, most of the PC laptops with the graphics chips are dying. They're $279 at Best Buy. Nobody really gives a shit. The high-end PC laptops are usually cooled well enough that they don't have these problems. MacBook Pro 2008-7, those days are gone. Those machines are worthless. The 2010 one, that's an issue inside the board. That's not fixable. The 2011 one, Apple covers that for free. The iMacs, good luck finding new GPUs for those things. There are really the game consoles, you know, again, all you can do with those because the chips are not available is reballing, and you know how I feel about that. Even if you are into reballing, do consider how cheap these consoles are nowadays. They're cheap enough that most people are not going to pay more than 50 to 100 bucks to fix them anyway. If that's the case, do you really want to go spending $2,000 or $3,000 or $7,000 on BGA rework equipment? Again, you got to think about whether you want a BGA machine in your business. The stuff that's on, let me tell you something. Honestly speaking, the stuff that's on this desk makes me a fuck ton more money than the stuff that's on that desk. That's just the honest truth. But it is what it is. I like being able to have that. I like having that for the ability to say yes to jobs that I would have had to say no to. I like being able to say yes to things where if I had said no to that thing, that customer may have went to another business. But really, all things told, this desk makes a lot more money than that desk, and that's really what's important to me. Ultrasonic Cleaner, get a good one, get a sweep frequency ultrasonic cleaner. Don't be a cheapskate, don't buy a jewelry cleaner. Again, these tools are going to make you hundreds of thousands of dollars. If you can make, over the next 5 or 10 years, you can make like $700 or $800 or even $1 million in gross revenue just off of that tool. Do you really want all that to be missed out on because you wanted to cheap out and buy a $150 tool versus a $700 or a $900 tool? I find that short-sighted. My experience has already shown me that I'm right with this. Other people have disagreed with me, and then their own experiences have shown them that I'm right with this. It's up to you. Again, I don't get paid by Crest or Branson as shit-can cheap jewelry cleaners. They don't pay me. I don't care. I have no stake in your personal success. If you are personally a total failure, that does not take out of my wallet. That does not add to my wallet one bit. I don't care if it works for you. I am giving away this information. There are a lot of people who will say, you're wrong. Where's the proof of this? Where's this, that, and the other? You're just making this stuff up. And they'll say, and I won't reply to it or rebut it, and they'll go, he didn't rebut it, he's wrong. No, it's really, I really don't care if you're personally successful. I put this information out there for free so that you can figure things out, so that the other people out there who started where I was can figure this stuff out without torturing themselves. But if you want to torture yourself, again, I don't care. It's no skin off my back. Figure it out for yourself. Toaster oven. Comes in very handy. This is a Hamilton Beach that we got from Kmart. I set it to convection, 225 Fahrenheit, put a board in there for 30 minutes or an hour. After it's gone through the cleaner, after it's gone through the Tupperware container with the alcohol, after it's been dried off in the air filter, you put it in there, 10 minutes to an hour later, it's set to go. No waiting 2 to 3 days for a board to dry, no screwing around and turning on a board that has moisture on it and then killing it. Speakers. I like music. I like good music. You don't need phase coherent speakers in your office. I just like having them here, and I already had them before. If I needed to buy a stereo for my office, would I choose floor standing speakers that are minus 1 dB at 27 hertz without a subwoofer that are phase coherent? For this little room, probably not, but it's really cool that they're here. Nice television. Again, it's important to be able to actually view schematics properly. Viewing them on a laptop sucks. It sucks viewing a schematic and a board view side by side where you're making the windows smaller and doing that on a laptop. And oh my God, the people doing this on 1600 by 900 or 1366 by 768, you're allocating something like 600 by 300 resolution to the schematic, which is just, that's sad. I don't know how you work like that. That's just, I don't get it. So I've gone over all the tools that I use here. And that's about it.